if you know how to read, okay, words family are a group of sounds, individual sounds that makes up a word. Okay, hello, Crick. Okay, word family are a group of sounds that makes up an individual word. If you know family, you will be able to read many words. For example, if I if a word begins with a consonant or it begins with two consonant, always take the first or the second consonant out and the rest will become your word family. Okay, the sound, the word family. Word family will not change. The only time a word family is changed is by replacing the first sound in which is the beginning of the word. Okay, so if you are able to read the word family sound, you are able to read the word. So it is very important that you learn how to read all of the word families. For example, if you don't want to figure out whether it is a long vowel or a short vowel, this is a very easy technique for you. Teacher in elementary school use this techniques to teach kids how to read. It is easier to teach you how to read by using word family than teaching you how to read individual words. Okay, now the only problem with this rule, which is we call the word family, is that it only applies to words that are one syllable. Okay, it only applies to words that are one syllable. If it is a multi-syllable word, then you would have to follow the syllable stressed. Okay, but since all of the words that I will be sharing with you today, very good, Crick. Since I will be sharing with you words that are only one syllable, we're gonna focus on word family, what they announce it. So what I'm gonna have you do is I'm gonna give you a group of word families. I'm gonna have you come up with as many words as possible within that group, and then we're going to learn how to read it. Okay, we're going to learn how to read it. We're going to dissect the sound. We're going to figure out how to distinguish a long vowel from a short vowel. If you don't already know, it is very easy. Let me repeat the rules again for you. The first way to distinguish whether it is a long vowel or a short vowel is by the ending of the letter. If a word or a syllable is ending with a consonant, we call that a closed syllable. Okay? We call that a closed syllable. What that means, that consonant is blocking, okay? It's blocking the vowel sound. So the sound is short. Now let me repeat. If a word or a syllable ends in a consonant, we call that I can't type today. Consonant, we call that a closed syllable, which will make a short vowel sound. Okay, which will make a short vowel sound. For example, bat. Bat end with a T, right? There's only one vowel. There's only one vowel in the word. Therefore, we know that if there's only one vowel in between two consonants, that will make up a pattern. We call that CVC pattern. Now, what are the CVC patterns? CVC patterns are called consonants, vowel plus a consonant. Any words falls in this patterns will have a short vowel sounds. Okay. Now it is very hard to remember all of the pronunciation rules. Correct. So the best way to do is knowing what are closed syllable and what are open syllables. Okay. Syllable with an S. Okay. Syllable with an S on the first one. So it is easier to figure out if it's a long vowel or a short vowel because we can't remember every single word, correct? So these are the two ways that is easy for you to distinguish. So we know that if a word or a consonant ends in if a word or a syllable ends in a consonant, we call that a closed syllable. A closed syllable will have a short vowel sound. A vowel sound. Now the second thing is if a word or syllable ends in a vowel, comma, it is called an open syllable, which will produce a long vowel sound. Okay, for example, my. Notice the Y at the end. Notice the Y at the end of the M. That Y has many pronunciation. That Y at the end of the M has actually two pronunciation. It can be a long E or a long I. Okay, now how can we tell if it is a long E or a long I? Well, it is very simple. Any words ends in a Y. Any words end in a Y that are like 2 or 3 words. For example, like in the word my have 2 letters. We know that is a long I because it is a short spelling. We call that a short spelling. Okay, short spelling. But if you have a Y in a long spelling word, okay, long spelling word, it will become a long E. For example, sorry. Notice that? Tiny, right? Oops, tiny, okay? And so on, okay? So that is your rule with Y ending. But if Y is in the beginning, Y is in the beginning of a word, that will keeps its original sound. Original sound. Okay, so let's going back with our open syllable rules. Okay, open syllable ends in a vowel. Okay, that means it is a long vowel sound. That is how you distinguish whether if it is a long or short vowel sounds. Okay, now for those of you who don't know what are long or short vowels, I suggest that you go to ESC Forum or any English website and do a search. What are they? Should you know them? Yes, you should. Are they important? Yes, they are. Why? Because vowel sounds are the main sounds in all the words, in any kind of words. Okay? Now, how do you know how many syllables in a word? Well, that's easy. The clue is how many vowel in a word will create, it's how many syllable. If you have one vowel, that means it's one syllable, right? For example, bat. There's only one vowel, so there's only one syllable, correct? Sorry. How many vowels do you have in here? You have 2 vowel. You have the ah, you have the o and the y, right? So if there is 2 vowel, there is 2 syllable. So how do you know? Well, by looking at the word. An important thing to remember is never look at the spelling. The spelling will throw you off. Always listen to the sounds, okay? In American English, we listen for the sound, not the spelling, okay? Not the spelling. But are they important? Yes, they are. They play an important keys in pronunciation. For example, why are they so important? When you are pronouncing ending sounds, ending sounds are very important as well as vowel sounds. Okay, they are equally important because if you are telling someone a story in the past, make sure you use the proper tense. Okay, make sure you use the proper tense. You can't go back and forth unless you are telling a story in present tense, or you were referring something that had just happened. So it is very important to learn all your ed sounds, all your s's, okay, and all of your ending sounds. Okay, remember what I said about ending sound. Now, why do they have the name as an ending sound? Ending sounds. Well, that's because the sound is about to end. So do we pronounce it hard? No, we don't, right? The sound is going to end. So when we do pronounce ending sound, do not overemphasize it. Okay, I don't want you to produce the puff of air so much because we know the D and T are unaspirated when it is in the final position. Correct? We know that D and T are aspirated if it is in D and T equals aspirated when it is in the beginning of the word. Correct? But if T and D is at the end of the word, we know that is unaspirated. And we know that T and D, we call that a stop sound. Okay? Now, what are stop sounds? Stop sounds means when you create the sound, you have to stop the airflow and then continue, right? It is not a continuous sound. All right? Aspirated means là mình phải đưa cái hơi ra, right? For example, t, t, t. Notice I'm stopping the airflow, I'm stopping the sound, and then I'm releasing it. I'm stopping it and releasing it. We call that aspirated. You're spitting out the puff of air, right? You're spitting out the puff of air, and you got to stop to be able to do that, right? So your tongue plays an important factor when pronouncing stop sounds. Okay? Stop sounds. So, recaps. Why is it so important to learn what are vowels and what are ending sounds? Well, it will help in your pronunciation, okay? So for those of you who don't know what it is, I recommend that you should go back and review. So let's talk about word family. So what are word family again? I've just mentioned. What are word family? You guys tell me what it is. What are word families? What are they? What are word families? There's 93 of you. They're rhymes, okay? Be more specific. Be more specific. Tell me what they are. They have the same parts, okay? What parts? Not ending or beginning. Nope, not ending or beginning. It can only be at the ending. Words family will only locate at the ending. Right? So, once again, word families are groups of words that have a common feature or patterns. Okay? Have a group of common feature and pattern. Okay? They have some of the same combinations of letters in them and similar sounds. For example, yes, we don't want to call it a suffixes because it's not a suffixes, right? It has suffixes are like ick, right? Suffixes have meaning, okay? Prefixes and suffixes have meaning. Look at the suffixes and prefixes. Ugh, I can't say that word this morning, okay? They have a meaning to it, right? But word family do not have a meaning. They're just groups of letters that are put together to create a feature, a similar features and a pattern. For example, the word family at, right? At does not have any meaning besides if you use it as a word, at, right? But if I give you the group at, you can give me a list of many words. For example, go ahead and list them. At. Any words you can think of. This is one of the most common ones that I always use as an example. Okay, hat, cat, sat, mat. What else? Keep going. Not last. It cannot be last because last is a group of word, the AST. All right. Remember what I say? How do you distinguish a group of word? Well, you take out the first or the second consonant, and then the remaining will be your word family. For example, you have the word flat. To take that out is FL plus AT, correct? You take out all of the consonant and you begin the word family with that first vowel sound. All right? It's easier if you separate it like that. Okay? It's easier. Actually, that is not because EA is a double vowel sound. Okay, EA, that is a long E. Okay, now at is different. At is